Hello, welcome back to another episode of Women in Sport. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm Rhiannon Evans, and this week we are talking hockey.
It's still there for Owsley on the reverse stick. She can get the shot. Oh, she scores! Owsley doubles the lead. It was a catalogue of errors in the circle, both offensively and defensively, until it fell to Lily Owsley. And then she put the reverse stick through it, and she doubles the lead. The Great Britain 2, New Zealand 0.
Kim Carney, forward.
Louise Slater, midfield defender.
Zoe Crowe, midfield.
I don't really know. Are we on record now?
Yes, so we're recording now. Let's start with your backstories in hockey. So how long you've been playing for, which I know is a very long time. How long you've been playing for, and how did you start playing hockey in the first place? Starting with you, Kim.
So my parents were actually involved in other sports, and when we moved into our house in Farm Hill in, I think it was 1990, their neighbours were actually hockey players, and they sort of introduced them to it because it was quite family orientated, and with us too. Zoe and myself, I think my mum and dad wanted to get into something where they could bring the kids along and have a good day out. So I think it was 2 years later we were actually allowed to start going down. And back then it was down on Purrow's pitch on the grass. We had a little junior section, started there and carried on and progressed then through to school and into senior matches. I think we were allowed to play then from 11, 12 in senior matches, which you can't do anymore. But yeah, I think that's the way of all sports are going at the moment.
And sorry, just quickly, how is it playing like as sisters? Because it's your names pop up like as like the sister duo strikes again. Is it fun of you always played on the same team together?
I don't know anything different, to be honest, because we've been playing since we were so young that I guess we're just so used to having each other on the team. I guess we feel a bit lost when she isn't on the team, which is very unusual because Kim literally has 100% record attendance at every match and every competition, so it's normally me that's not taking part. But I guess it's just something that we're used to. We've just been doing it since we were playing Ladies B since we were 11, maybe something like that. Obviously Kim was started even earlier than I did, didn't you? So I guess it's something that we've just sort of been used to. We've got a bond. I feel like we sort of know where each other are going to play, if that makes sense. Sometimes I sort of think, right, where would Kim run? Okay, don't go for that ball, Kim's going to go for that ball. Or, so I guess sometimes we sort of can figure each other out, I guess, a little bit more so, because we've been just playing alongside each other for so long. Particularly enjoy playing with Kim when she plays in the midfield with us. It's really nice to have her sort of like right next to you. So, and she's very good. She's the captain of the team, and she's sort of tells us where we need to be, what we need to do. So it's nice to have somebody telling us, taking control and
absolutely,
pushing us on. Really, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Louise.
Well, my family didn't play hockey, but I really got involved from primary school. I was always quite sporty at primary school, but until high school, when you start actually playing, back then, now I'm a primary school teacher myself, and we do play hockey, we do play netball. Back when I was at primary school, we didn't really play hockey as such. It might have been like a uni-hock plastic stick, but nothing really, using proper hockey sticks or anything. So when I was in year 7, I just picked up the sport quite quickly, and I was lucky enough that one of my PE teachers at the time, she actually played for Vikings, so I think she snapped me up before her backers or another teacher from another club sort of poached us. So that's how I started, really. Went down to training at Vikings after she told me all the information, and that was it, really. Started playing with these girls when I was like 11. Then I dragged my sister along. She was a couple of years older, and she still plays when I was 2 kids, and I think there's lots of siblings in our club. We're quite lucky it is a family-orientated club. And started playing senior hockey from 11, 12 with all the adults, and started at the lower leagues and then just sort of worked our way up, really. Yeah.
Fab. So all 3 of you have been in the hockey scene for a substantial amount of time.
Yes.
Have you seen the
definitely.
game change much over the years?
Yeah, definitely. Well, like Kim said, we first used to train on grass, so that's a huge difference to go onto Astro. I don't think I actually played any fixtures on grass apart from Whit Festival.
No, I never played on grass.
Or school games.
Yeah.
School mixed.
And then obviously we played on the Astro down at the NSC where it was a bit more sand based than it was, and then obviously I guess the pitch base has changed quite dramatically, and then obviously it went to water based, and then we've sort of gone back a little bit again since the NSC flood. Ooh, bless. I guess in terms of so with the grass, obviously it's more control based now, because obviously used to be able to hit the ball so well on the grass and it would be bobbling and everything like that. So I guess on the Astro it's a bit more control that's needed and required to sort of make sure that you've got good touch and can move the ball quickly and more accurately, I guess, now. So, and also now with they're exploring sort of 3D skills and everything like that. You know, lots of players now are really skillful because they can keep hold of the ball for a longer period of time on the Astro as opposed to on grass. And it's so fluid and fast, that obviously makes the speed of the game so much faster. And I guess you can do a lot more with it.
Sticks have improved.
Sticks
Massively.
have
I think
improved.
years ago it was like wooden. When we first started playing, it was wooden sticks really. And now you've got your carbon fibre with all your different percentages of carbon.
Now you have no idea
All
what
different composites.
I get confused.
The low bow, mid bow, high bow.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But there's so many sort of like tactical sort of skills based that changed, haven't they? You know, sort of people doing sort of different short corners, like the drag flick came in, like reverse hitting. You know, we never used to do any of that when we were younger. And then obviously, you know, the youths now, that's just norm. That's just, you know, what they should be doing as a junior and obviously all the way through. So some of the skills are new to us. And like, you know, we need to acquire them as well. We've had to try and change our game to acquire those new skills as well. So obviously, like now, a lot of juniors are lucky that they've got all these sort of extra skills that are available to them. And like with the sticks and with the obviously pitch, they can make full use of that and play a really interesting game. So
I remember playing hockey in school on grass. It haunts me to this day. Like, I loved hockey, but I think I remember one time it was like the one time I didn't have like shin guards, and I remember getting a ball to the side of my ankle and it just went purple immediately. I was like, I'm going to netball.
I think you're happy to play on the grass if you knew that you had somebody at the back that could absolutely hit the ball towards you, then you thought, you know, we're on to a win here if somebody can hit it
I
really
remember
well.
it was Kristen Callow and Kim
yeah.
Clegg, like, who could smash it out of the park. Did not want to get in the way.
They've got good hand-eye coordination, those two.
Yeah, definitely, with their badminton as well.
Yeah.
So do you, because you've got mixed leagues and you've got women's leagues, which do you prefer playing in?
Tricky.
So I think this is like quite a bone of contention at the moment, because even though you look at the Isle of Man and you look at the population that we've got here and you try and compare it to somewhere in the UK, so try and take somewhere like Burnley, for instance, they wouldn't have, and they don't have, a full 3-4 leagues of ladies and men's, and they wouldn't have 5 leagues of mixed hockey in that one region. They'd be in the Northwest region and they'd be in the like feeder leagues. And you try and look at it like that, because I think a lot of people sort of think, oh, what can we do now for Manx hockey? And there is a lot of various ways that we can go about this and options that have been open to us. You know, there wasn't the option of being able to filter a team into the leagues at that point. There might be now, but then there's a restructure that's going on in England hockey at the moment, and it looks like that's going to be delayed for another year as well through the new proposal that they've put out. However, I think the mixed for the girls is great, because I think the standard of women's hockey in the Isle of Man actually excels, because we get to play with the games with the men's. You get the higher pace, you get the quality, it just brings you along, especially in the teams that I've played in Vikings and Backers. They're quite happy to use their ladies and push their ladies, and it really does bring you on. And I think, you know, for me as a player, that's made me tougher, stronger, faster.
Yeah.
And even before I went to university, that made me ready. Whereas a lot of people go away now and think, oh, wow, this is it's meant to be non-contact sport. Well, it is. But, you know, you both coming together in sort of battles, but people are like, oh, didn't think I was going to get pushed off the ball, but it's not
contest
really,
sport,
it's a contest. So I think in that
Right.
aspect, the mixed really does help. And I love playing mixed personally. I wouldn't like to see it like gone completely. The men's, I suppose, some people don't like it. Some people out of the men's don't like it because they think it does slow them down, especially, if they're not into the first 11, then, they're going down a little bit more of a level compared to what they're playing in their men's premiership. However, it's one of those things where you'll lose the ladies if you'd stop mixed completely, I think. I think we wouldn't excel as much as we do now. Whereas the men's, so what are you going to do if we get rid of mixed? How are the men's? Are you going to get better by playing the teams that you're playing another
teams
2 times?
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't
Because
it?
the only other options you've got at the moment, which is an idea that's floating around and we're trying to put forward, is that in the UK competitions, in the cup competitions that we're playing at the moment with the cup with the clubs, we're trying to sort of see whether we could do maybe an Ireland A and B, both men's and ladies, so that the elite players over in the Isle of Man get more game time against higher opportunities, because at the moment we're kind of restricted with counties for both of the men's and ladies, and then at club level you're in a knockout competition, and as soon as you're knocked out, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
So I think you are stuck there. You're in a little bit of a rut, but I wouldn't like mixed to be gone for a personal reason.
Is there tension there from any of the men at all?
I think like the past few years, there's been lots of proposals from the MHA of, options to try and, cut down the mixed league and get rid of it, keep it. And all the clubs have always fed back, and we still have a mix and a men's and ladies league. So I think it must be, general opinion to keep it. I really love mixed, but then I love ladies as well. So it's nice to have the mixture in the year. And it's also good, for people who aren't, in the perhaps first, second teams are playing just for enjoyment, for the social side of it,
I think that's what
if
a lot of people
you could really segregate a club if you're just playing men's and ladies, so it's nice to play mixed as well. Socially it's good too.
Having that mixed is really good for the club, because I know when I've played ladies football, you don't really know any of the men's football, and you just turn up at the dinners and you sort of, the ladies are on one side of the room, the men's are on the other side.
Yeah, exactly.
That's sort of it, and that's the way that it is.
It disperses that, the mixed.
Yeah, definitely. But I also think from a personal side of things, like when we were younger, obviously we were mixing in with adults, obviously both men's and ladies, and playing mixed with adults as well. So I think that was quite good for a confidence thing for younger players, is to obviously socialise and mix with different sort of ages on the pitch, isn't it? I think that also helps you for personal skills as well, not just obviously in hockey as an individual, to actually mix in and socialise and speak to people within your team that may be 20 years older than you, but you're still sort of included with the club, and you all get on, which is a bonus as well in itself.
I heard your interview with Beth Craig. Now she's one of our juniors as well, which is a bit like one of those where you're like, oh yeah, you're good at football, you're good at hockey, but she plays in goals for she was in the under-16s, and now she's transferred into the Ladies C team this season. But she's also one of the athletes that I have in my tutor group for the sports academy.
Awesome.
So I've seen her develop the last few months, coming out of her shell, being able to talk a little bit more, and I kind of hope that that's come down to some of the hockey stuff as well as the football stuff. But I heard, as well as her mum saying this morning, about the football leagues deteriorating for the women's. Now I've been on that side as well, and I've seen it go from X amount of clubs down to the same sort of 5 clubs, and they're scratching for players some weeks, and to see that gap between the sort of 15 and 18-year-olds sort of just drift off, and the players sort of not be there. It's really sad, and I really wouldn't want that to happen for hockey. We're in the lucky position that we play on a Saturday, and not a lot of women's sports actually cross with that.
Yeah.
Whereas we lose players, male players, because they're playing football
Right, okay.
or rugby or at the same time.
Yeah,
but
girls get best of both worlds because they can still play the netball on the Sunday, can't they?
yeah, and they can
Football.
still play the football on the Sunday.
Yeah.
Full weekend.
Like you said
Yes.
about the participation rates
Yeah.
for the you've got to give them a goal. We've got to give it. So this year we've started. Last year we started the under-18s composite squad for the Ireland team, and then this year they've got the under-14s as well. So it's
they've
given
got
them
those
goals
targets.
that they know that they're going to have X. I think it's like they're guaranteed 2 games, whether they go out in the first round or not. So it's just making sure that then it filters all the way through and keeps people involved and keeps them progressing.
Yeah, keeps them on the hook for something to work towards. Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny that you noticed that about Beth as well, because I said to her in the past couple of months that I haven't seen her, one, she's now taller than me, which isn't that difficult to be fair. But also, she spoke so much more confidently.
Yeah.
And she was talking about hockey and how much she loved hockey, and then her mum was like, hockey's really got it made because she's aspiring towards stuff, and it's a lot more difficult with girls football on the island, and girls rugby and girls basketball. It seems to be a real struggle,
isn't it?
and I think, do you think because hockey is kind of part of the school curriculum that more girls it seems to be hockey and netball come across like they've got the highest
Yeah, they've definitely got the
rates.
highest participation rates in the Isle of Man, I would say.
It's a
For
big
female-wise, because both sports have
got.
got to have over 300 females competing at a weekend.
Yeah.
So it's definitely
They're your big sports that especially when you hit high school, and and at primary as well. But it's mixed at primary. I don't know how much secondary boys hockey's played now.
No,
I don't think it's really their curriculum as such.
no,
is it?
because a couple of
Didn't
guys that I
rugby get
know,
taken out and then put back in again or something. And
their children actually go to King Williams, and they've been trying to get it onto the curriculum at King Williams, because
That's interesting.
they're sort of like, well, they're known for how well they play hockey, but not male.
Yeah, you can't do
hockey.
it. Yeah.
And you can't do it in your lesson time.
Yeah.
So,
But it's interesting because I take hockey club, and there's at primary school at HBN, and there's a couple of cracking little boy players, and a couple of them do go to our club as well. And I think because it starts in as a 3-4 mixed tournament, like a year 3-4 mixed tournament, and if you can get the children involved then through Manx youth games as well, I think you've got to try and get them early, especially boys. Girls, you can pick up more probably at high school.
Yeah, definitely.
But with boys, I think they need that push as well.
Definitely. I know that there's only so much you can fit into the school curriculum, but it does feel like we still need to kind of break down these stereotypes that this is a girl's sport and this is a boy's sport.
Yeah,
definitely.
That massively needs to go. Coming back to the men's game, it's sort of like tensions from a few players. Surely you'd think that playing against women, you have to adapt your play, don't you? So I mean, I wouldn't imagine that you guys would be any lower of a standard than the men, but you might play in a different way, and surely that's a good thing to be challenged in that way. And I guess if the mixed league wasn't there, it would just make things a little bit blander by the sounds of it.
I think the men, obviously, physically the men are stronger, and they can,
Well, I've
push
seen
the
Kim
ball.
doing
true.
pull-ups in the gym. I remember watching it, and I was just thinking, don't let her see you watching her in the mirror. She's going to think you're a right creep. I was just like, oh my God, that's like 50 in a row.
But, if you're a girl or a lady and you play against the men, you want to be treated. Don't want them to go soft on you.
No, absolutely
you're
not.
playing a
Definitely
mixed
not.
league. You have to.
I've had a fair few rumbles against my own boyfriend this year. I think we're taking each other out in
It's
both
rewarding
the
to think, because you don't necessarily have to be the stronger player, but if you're a good tackler, and you win the ball, and you're just like, oh, you
just have to
the
be a
reward
smart
for getting
player.
that of a boy or a man or a woman or a girl, either way, you've got the ball
Gets
cleanly,
you pumped up.
and it's a good factor, isn't it? A good bit of a confidence boost for you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thinking, they might be a little bit quicker than me, but if I can stick my stick in and get a good tackle in here, then slow them down.
Or even a 50-50,
channel them in,
you come
yeah.
off the best. That's
Yeah,
even
that's
better.
even better. Yeah, that's when you get put in that scenario,
Yeah.
definitely. It definitely gives you a bit of a confidence anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think
But-
you have to, as a girl, especially playing against men, because they can run quicker.
Yes.
But I think probably we have to change our game more to up our game to play
Yes.
against the
Yeah.
men, rather than the men changing their game. Because I don't think, they change their game as much. I don't know. I'm not a man to.
Yeah.
No, I
to
think
make that
it was
judgment.
formation wise as well. You probably you wouldn't play your strongest position like you would play in the ladies, because the male would necessarily take that. Usually, they'll take that sort of dominant position in the midfield. However, I think like in Vikings, we've always tried to put a woman in the midfield to sort of actually make us stronger down one of the other avenues, to try and sort of see whether that would beat or break down one of the other teams. Having a guy out on the left or the right, wing with the pace that they've got, if they can cut in and get along that baseline, it's great. But I think, you go back to ladies and I'm like, oh, I've forgotten how to play here because I've been playing out in a different position. But then that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing.
No, definitely not.
You just have to be
you've got
versatile.
you
Yeah.
do have to be versatile.
And versatility goes a long way in any sport. So is there an ongoing conversation about the mixed league then? Is there a risk that it's not going to be around for much longer?
I think there's a few main drivers, like personal people. But I think unless you got something to back it up with, unless we've got a plan of what other options and what's everyone else going to get out of it that's better for both the females and the males, and not just the males or not just the females,
You've got to
then
think of
I
it.
don't think it can be a question that can be asked right now. But if someone came up with something, then fine.
Yeah, it's
Fair
got to
enough.
be beneficial for
But-
all. Not just obviously take away mixed and obviously the men excel, like Kim said. It's got to be, and throughout all the other leagues as well. Something's got to be in place in order for everybody to perform at the highest that they can do in each and every league. Not it's not necessarily just the top elite guys as well. So
Yeah.
I think in order to improve that mass participation, everything's still got to run smoothly, and everything's still got to be there in place for people to excel from the bottom all the way up to the top. Otherwise you're going to have a drop off.
And I think we've still got, how many leagues are there in the mix? Is it five? No,
Five,
five
yeah.
leagues in the mix. So I think that just sort of says how if we didn't have enough teams for the leagues, then yes, you'd have to rethink
yeah.
it. But the fact that you're still getting so many teams from each club wanting to play mixed and putting teams in to the mixed leagues, then I think that sort of tells
I think
it to me.
take for instance out of our club, which I think you've got 180 members playing at the moment. 2 of those members only play ladies only. Everyone else plays mixed and men's and ladies.
Yeah.
So I think when
That
you look at
speaks
it
for
like
itself.
that,
Yeah.
they could take the decision to only play ladies, but no one seems to really.
No.
I mean, it would be interesting to see what people think in terms of if people, like we mentioned before, playing against the same team and every week, it would are people going to get bored of playing the same players all the time? I think
because you do know, the Isle of Man is small.
You know
And it's like
people's
any
game.
sport. You know the tactics of some players. You know how to, you can read their games almost because, and it's like netball, basketball, whatever. You know the players you have to watch. So if you, it'd almost get a bit...
Kind of lose the mystery.
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
yeah.
That's
And
why
then-
it's so good to
Exactly.
play.
Yeah.
When you play in the island team, to play across against really good standard, and you've got no idea what these players, you turn onto a pitch and you've got no idea what to expect. And
Yeah,
you've got
when
to
enter
up
league,
your
it's
game.
great,
You've got to
isn't
be
it?
prepared. You've
Yeah.
got to
And I think
Be
if
ready
you
for something
didn't
different.
have those different plays, those different teams to play against, then that would widen the gap between
Yeah.
our standard and the standard across, because like you say, we would just be playing the same people over and over and over.
yeah.
But also in terms of participation, like you said, you would get a drop off without the mixed league. I think it's, going off basketball, rugby, it seems that the sports that train together mixed from childhood throughout school, those are the sports that seem to be the most level pegging in terms of numbers and
Yes.
ability and sort of attitude towards it. Mixed hockey is I just see it as hockey rather than women's rugby. Do you know?
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
annoys me. I know it's such a small
Yeah.
thing, but it's like, just call it rugby. Do you
Rugby,
know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And you don't, and it doesn't come across like you get that as much.
No, definitely not.
No,
Definitely
yeah, I
not.
don't think we do.
No, because they just say, if anybody's reporting on, it's reporting on hockey or talking about hockey fixtures, not
Yeah.
women's fixtures. It's just everything's just
Yeah,
as a
it's
whole.
not
isn't
segregated.
it?
And the
Yeah.
thing is that if it is women's fixtures, it's also men's fixtures
Yes.
as well. And,
Yeah,
that's true.
I think those small things go a really
Yeah.
long way. So I think hockey's doing well in
yeah,
that respect.
yeah. I guess you're absolutely right in terms of like equal levels, like you said, and yeah, definitely the way that everybody sees it from an outside perspective, like you said, is hopefully both men's and ladies, isn't it, equally?
Yeah.
It's just some more sort of fun questions for you. Okay.
Okay.
So what would you say the highlight of your hockey career has been?
Oh, I don't know whether or not we might all be the same.
Yeah, we probably are all going to be the same.
When we finally won the
Counties.
counties,
Yeah, when we finally won
that's
Northern
me.
Counties
Yeah.
after...
Years of
I think,
trying.
well, I've been going... I was 16 when I was first in the Ireland team, and I think I've been every year since.
Yeah.
And to finally win it 2 years ago, it was definitely one of my proudest moments
Yeah.
because even just a captain and to, everyone in that team had been trying for so long as well, finally all just clicked and we played so well, and, to come away with the win.
That must have felt amazing.
Yeah, it really was.
It was.
It felt like we were kind of celebrating it for a long time.
Unfortunately, years and years, we always used to be the underdog, and we always used to be sort of last place or
Travelling over, we
place
get the
before,
worst
and,
fixtures.
as much as we loved it, because again, we were playing against different people, and we
And
always
it's
loved
really
a good trip.
standard of hockey as well.
And it was always good standard of hockey, like Lou said. So it was always, you never wanted to say no, but you knew, oh gosh, we might lose here. Quite a few goals might have, But eventually, like you said about the change of game as well, like the squad and the juniors and everything has developed.
Strength and conditioning.
And everything has worked, and eventually we've got to a stage where, okay, I'm not saying the girls that we used to play with are fantastic, but like the type of game that we're playing now at counties is completely different to when we first started playing, and like Kim said, fortunately it all worked. We had some really good juniors, we had some really good. Oh, I say old girls, that's originals, not originals, but we've been there for a while. Within, amongst everybody as well, it was just lovely to finally,
especially when you
finally
think
get it and think, yes, the Isle of Man, we've done it for once.
like at that counties competition, you're playing like Yorkshire, Lancashire, Cumbria, Cheshire, Durham. These are big counties, and for us as a little island to go away and even compete against these, and we. And
these girls are playing national. Most of their teams are playing national prem or conference.
Yeah.
And you look at them and you're like, oh wow. We ended up playing Susie Petty, who played for England. She was playing for Yorkshire when she was coming through, and then the next month she had a call up for England, and you're like, yeah, she was amazing. But I got to play against her. So you're like, wow,
exactly.
I'll take that. I'll tackle her. It was ace.
That was
awesome.
It is aspiring. Like her mum as well is always at the clubhouse when we go to Benridden, and like she proper. Her mum's still there making like teas and helping out and mucking in, and you're just like, that's the family aspect coming back through it again, even at that level.
Yeah.
Probably, other than the counties, probably another moment for me was when we got the 100 games.
Yeah, definitely,
100 games unbeaten.
Yeah, that was it.
100 games unbeaten.
I think we got to 127 before
that was just ladies.
Yeah, just ladies. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was over a period of 10 years.
Yeah,
so that was pretty.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Who beat you in the end?
It was the.
Do we not want to say their name?
No, it was the thing about our player got overturned.
Oh
yeah.
Okay. Let's move on.
Let's move on. We're over it. We're over it. Back in business, aren't we, this season? So we're over it.
Well, we still won the cup. We still and even still, it's annoying. But the Manx hockey didn't follow what England hockey did. In the fact that they reversed the goals and the points, whereas England hockey only reversed the points.
Right.
So if we hadn't, we wouldn't have
difference.
had to have gone out to try and beat teams like by X amount to nil, and it went down to 1 goal. So
Anyway,
So you still did
What
a
about
really
this
good
year,
job.
though, girls?
Yeah.
it's just frustrating.
When is the most nervous you've ever been?
Um,
Have you ever been sick before a game? God, I remember athletics meetings, and I don't think I ever was sick before a race, but I think being on your own, I was always like,
yeah,
"Whoa."
I think, you know what, that petrifies me to be, like, because I'm so used to playing in a team sport. The
I
fact
couldn't
of
go
being
back,
an
yeah.
individual, you know, I think that petrifies me.
Yeah, we
Like,
talked about this.
I struggle with, like, entering races and stuff because I think I've just been so used to being in the team all the time. I think that just works in your favour. You just feel you get a confidence boost from being surrounded by other people. And I can't say I've ever been sick before a game.
No,
I've been
I've
sick
not been
from
sick.
maybe too much, like, trying your hardest and
yeah.
you know, exhaustion possibly, or well, sunstroke normally, because if we go away if we go away to island competitions, unfortunately my pale face sort of gets some sort of sunstroke, unfortunately. But again, yeah, I think if I was on my own, you know, I think I would be in a bit of a different scenario. I think, you know, being at uni, being at trials to get into like your teams and that kind of thing, and I think that puts a lot of pressure on you as an individual.
Yeah.
But you know, I have huge admiration for people that enter races and do individual events, because it is down to you.
And stuff like that. Yeah.
You know, it is down to you. And I'd like to say that I'd hopefully be all right in that sort of situation, but
it's just nice having a team.
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
definitely.
I have butterflies every week.
I mean, yeah,
Like,
don't get me wrong, I'm nervous, but, you know, I don't get
That
myself
stomach
so worked
feeling,
up,
I
but-
actually like it.
Yeah.
I like feeling it, like
That's
especially
good,
on a
though.
Friday
Yeah.
when I start thinking about the next day. I'm just like, I think it was worse when before like the unbeaten run. I was like,
Yes.
oh, is it going to be this week? Is it going to be this week? Is it going to be this week? And you kind of feel a little bit better now, like about, like you don't
Like the
quite
pressure's
feel
off
that
a little
pressure,
bit.
Yeah,
but
it almost
at the
was
same
like-
time, you sort of now you're like nervous in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're trying to sort of mold that into, like, just putting it into performance
Yeah,
rather than
absolutely.
letting
But
it
also-
overtake you.
Also reverting back to when you're playing against people that you don't know, that's when you're even more nervous.
Yeah.
So when we go away for counties, or when we're entering the cup competition, when we have no idea what the opposition is like, that's where
Yeah.
I'm probably...
You're
It's
known,
funny
isn't it?
because you see people out of the team dealing with it in very different ways, like even at island level or at club level. And sometimes you just want to turn around and be like, right, I know you're doing this.
Yeah.
Don't look at them. Just get on with your own game.
Yeah, just
carry
focus
on.
on your
Like warm
And
up,
it's quite funny
you can't help but
because-
looking over.
Yeah, what are your pre-game routines to sort of manage those nerves?
Usually mine's not to forget anything. To be honest.
Yeah,
It's
go
a
from top
nightmare.
to bottom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Not to forget
Thinking
anything,
about
check
everything,
kit.
every piece of equipment.
Put a good little tune on before you get down to the pitch. It's always a good one. I'm a bit frantic now that I've got 2 children trying to get everything ready. I don't normally have that much time to think about it till I get to the side of the pitch. But normally it's like, get a good tune, make sure you've got the right kit. Or sometimes it's out the night before.
Yeah.
Out the night before. Like particularly
It's whenever
at
all of
counties.
the team are sending photographs of it all out, lay out on their beds the night
definitely.
before. It's quite-
You
quite
can always
good.
smell the people who have been out the night before on the netball court. Just sweating, it's coming out their pores.
That's quite a good thing that hockey's on a Saturday.
Yes.
Because I play netball as well on a Sunday, and sometimes it's not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Friday nights are sometimes good fun as well.
Yeah,
though.
true.
I think for me, for ritual wise, just try and go equipment wise, try and put it in the sort of same order, really. And I always put my captain's armband on pretty much last thing before we start the game. I sort of have it in my pocket. I don't put it on while we're warming up generally. I think that's just a conscious thing that I do.
I don't have any like lucky socks or anything like that.
I used to have like a ribbon. I used to put ribbon when I was a little younger.
Oh.
Just like when we used to play counties, used to put like a little yellow and red ribbon in. But I haven't done that for a long time. Maybe I should start
I think you should
doing
bring
that.
it back. So
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure I would rock that so much anymore. But yeah,
bring the Jojo Bear.
Yeah, bring it back.
I'm bad at eating and stuff before, because I've sort of tried to train myself as well into not getting stitches and stuff, but it's not really worked out too well. But I've tried. So I tried to sort of eat more late on the night before, just so that it carries on through, and just smaller meals. But I know some people like certain breakfasts.
Yeah.
I know that my boyfriend, he always has dippy eggs before a big game.
Really?
Yeah, always that's like without fail.
Yeah.
It used to be like years ago when we played cup games on a Sunday. didn't we?
Yeah.
And I'd always have a roast dinner.
Roast
for
dinner,
them.
yeah. I couldn't believe that her and her sister come down after having a full roast dinner.
I don't do that anymore. I
Anything
don't do that anymore. Usually like porridge or something like breakfast. Bit of energy.
How was it going away and having kids and then coming back to the sport?
Yeah, it's quite tricky. Coming back this time round, obviously I was going straight into the mixed season. So when I first had my first child, I went back into the ladies season. So I felt there was not an ease, but I felt it was easier to get back into ladies as opposed to this time round. I only played a couple of games, don't get me wrong. So I wasn't really supposed to be playing mixed, but they were short. So I came over and my husband called me up to play a couple of games, so I couldn't say no really. So I guess that had added pressure because obviously playing straight away for the first team, not only in the first team, but also playing against the men. So, you know, my touch wasn't quite there. My fitness definitely wasn't there. So it was quite difficult. In your mind, you've got to sort of get over it and just mind over matter and just be like, okay, it's not going to be at its top.
Yeah,
it's not going to be at the
normal.
greatest. You've got to work your way back up again. So sometimes I'll come off the pitch and I'll be annoyed with myself. But, you know, you've got to think, right, you know, I've only had my child several months ago. So you've got to
You're quite hard on yourself.
But you just got to be a bit more relaxed about it and just like, I'll get there eventually. You know, your fitness will come back.
I think a lot of people see professionals now going back to the sport quite quickly. But I think the normal mum doesn't think about
have a
the
personal
fact
trainer
that
and whatnot.
you haven't got a personal trainer, you haven't got someone who's looking after your child the whole time, you're not training 3 times a day, you know. And I think a lot of the media sort of puts that pressure on to new mums now to get back into that shape straight away.
Definitely. And I think it was easier coming back first time round because we've only got one child, so it was I felt more time to actually go off and do a bit of exercise, whereas this time around again it's harder to get yourself out when you've got 2 children to try and go out and do a run, just even a run in the evening, you know, sort of before you might be absolutely shattered and you just, you know, haven't got the energy to go and do it. So sometimes you have got to sort of force yourself out, but there's loads of help out there as well, which is really nice. So like I did CrossFit throughout both my pregnancy and had really good help. Erin there was absolutely fantastic, and Bronner's and all the staff there were great to like help me work and keep to my strength as much as I possibly could. So basically before I had my children I wanted to be at my best strength that I could possibly be, and then obviously during my pregnancy I wanted to try and keep training as much as possible to obviously still be strong and then obviously still maintain a little bit of fitness so that coming back would be easier, so I still had the strength and everything. So
you've done well, Zoe.
Yeah,
so
it's good to have, you know, that there's options there to help build and give you advice and figure out what you need to do and not force yourself. I think probably came back a little bit too fast first time round, so I knew deep down this time I wanted a bit more time. Didn't want to rush into it, so I did that, and you know, I think that's paid off by not rushing back. Whereas first time I possibly went a little bit too quick, you know, thinking, oh, I've got to be fit, I've got to be at my fittest, I've got to go back, and you know, you always feel the competition to be back. I've got to be back in like 2 months' time, you know. Whereas this time round, I think it's just do it when you're ready. Feel, you know yourself and your body when you're comfortable to get back into exercise. So
it's really inspiring, and I think that hearing someone who has children and plays at such a competitive level will go a long way with a lot of women, even who just want to play sort of for fun. You know, just hearing that someone has also gone through that and accepted
definitely.
the fact that it's a struggle. And I mean, I got injured, and throughout my injury I like had a busted Achilles and like carried on going to the gym to do all my other strength work and whatnot, and still went back on and had my first netball game in September and came off so disappointed, and I was like, why are you disappointed? Like you were never going to go back in flying. That was totally unrealistic.
It's just accepting it. It's hard to accept it,
exactly.
But it's a difficult one to be in, you know, mentally, to sort of think, you're not going to be at your top. You know, you just sort of got to get over that. But it's a hard acceptance
thing to accept.
Definitely.
But that's why it's so good hearing people like yourself sort of talk through that.
We've had quite a few people have
We've
children
got, like,
lately.
a mini
There's a lot.
I don't know if either of you two have had kids.
No.
Or any injuries or anything that you've touched wood. If not,
touch wood. Considering you know the hockey ball is so hard. I think the only injury I've had really, mate, is I broke my nose.
Yeah.
That was an indoor. The ball hit me on the nose. But touch wood, we have been quite lucky.
I think all three of us have been lucky, really. I think that's again another thing to
I know. You'll leave here
I think
and
it is
get
down
so
to
sick
that
or
whole everyone is looking to get stronger and fitter now. And, you know, before we go to counties, we were in the Sports Institute for Strength and Conditioning. And I think we use that to its max. And whether people are doing it in there or doing it off in their own gyms as well, I think people are just taking it a little bit more seriously now. And I know counties just gone and the one before that, we didn't have any injuries or any tiredness down to sort of lack of looking after yourself. Whereas I know the lads suffered quite a few injuries, and a few of them was down to maybe not
doing that strength and conditioning.
Or just sort of making sure that their recovery was right the day before, because you are playing 5-6 matches in 2 days, and
it's a lot.
What we found best the last couple of years is we've actually done our strength and conditioning session and then gone straight out onto the pitch for a training session, because when we've kind of seen it as, all right, well, we're training under fatigue, and that's what we got to get used to, because you're playing 5-6 games in one weekend. You are playing under fatigue, because a lot of the time we get a back-to-back game, which, you know, with a squad of 15, you still only got the 4 or 5 subs to go on. Everyone's still got 140 minutes in their legs.
You're putting 100% in every minute you're on the pitch, because they are such good competitive games. So, you know, you do tire yourself out, and that's what you expect every player. You want them to push as hard as they can. So if you don't come home from counties a bit stiff and sore, there's something wrong.
That's actually a really good training idea, you know, because I've never done a strength and conditioning session and then gone in to do like sprints or anything, but actually
good warm up too.
It's definitely something, because like with Netball Europe and whatnot, that's a lot of games in a short amount of time. And I remember the first time doing it in Gibraltar, by day 3 I can't swear, but you know, I was just like thinking internally, take me off, like I'm letting the team down, take me off, you know. So training wise is, you know, you guys have obviously got that down to a T, which is awesome. Have you ever had any Red Ross moments? I asked this question of everyone. Like, have you ever gotten really angry during a game?
We call it the rage.
The rage.
Yeah, we do every so often get a little bit of the rage.
Yeah, and you know when someone's got the rage because they go on like one woman tramp right up to the top of the pitch.
I try to feel like I'm invincible, so when I get the rage, I'm like, right, that's it. It's me against the rest of the team.
You can tell when Zoe gets the rage.
And so I actually had the rage on Saturday, which I don't get it often, but when I get it, I'm like, right, I need to take myself off. So I'll do a little run, get some frustration out, and then I'm like, right, get me off. And I guess it's good to know, like, when I know the signs that I need to get myself off, because I've never got myself into a situation where I've been, you know...
No, nothing too me.
No, because I think I try and, you know, if you hear someone saying something towards you, I try and use it to actually fire me up rather than like
that's what I try to take on the team.
You show them what I've got. I'm like, you keep saying stuff to me, that's fine, because all you're doing is my ego's going up and I'll play better.
I think we've all had cards, haven't we?
Oh yeah.
Oh, have you? What was the worst thing you did to get a card?
Oh, well,
it's usually for like a bad tackle.
It's normally a bad tackle, but again, it's most of the time when we get cards, it's again when we go away for county competitions is normally when you get it, and that's because you're putting in...
You didn't have one card last time.
No, not.
No. You're putting in so much effort, but also again, like you're playing against players that you don't recognise, or you're playing against players that are just simply better than you are, and you know sometimes those mistakes do come into play,
just from like a late
or pure tiredness, like you said, you're playing 2-3 games in a row, and then obviously that's when the tiredness kicks in, and
your tackle's a bit late,
do a little bit of a chop tackle, and you get yourself
actually you should get off and have a sit down for 2 minutes.
So that's normally when we tend to get card is I know
counties, we've had counties before where they were more strict on, like it was a few years ago on the umpiring where we got card. I think I got 2 cards
for not being
5.
Yes.
And you were asking, and the umpire
for not being what? Sorry,
5 yards.
So 5 yards from the
hit.
Okay. So they brought it in, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to be super strict with this." this is the main thing that we're looking
Yeah.
for. So instead of like just being consistent over all of the rules, they just went in on that one
Just went
yeah.
for
down on it.
everything.
Yeah.
And
That's
every
a lot.
time. And they were like, "Oh yeah, you've got to be a good 5." I'm like, "Well, 5's 5."
yeah. What's a good
It's not
5?
6, 7, or 8.
Yeah.
It's 5.
You got to be a good 10-5.
So you're sort of a bit like, okay. But then a lot of the time now, people like put their hand up and like show like
Check,
a
yeah.
5 on their hand
Right.
and say, "Am I
It's a
okay?"
signal, yeah.
You know, and a lot of the times a good umpire will tell you
Yeah.
to step
Yeah.
back, whereas I think some people just wanted to
Yeah.
lay
Go
down
on
the
the
law,
power trip.
didn't they?
Well, I think I get more annoyed at myself.
Yeah.
If I,
Yeah.
I think,
you know,
I
don't
agree
think
with you
I'm
100%.
playing
It's
well
it's
or
normally
whatever.
myself that I
Yeah.
get frustrated at.
And I'll just take myself off and then, you know, have a talk
Yeah.
to myself and say, right, pull your act together and get back on.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But it's more frustration. I
Yeah.
always get a bit cross.
Yeah, definitely.
If there's any girls out there or women out there who want to try hockey and give it a go, but sometimes, you know, starting anything new, if you're on your own, can be quite a daunting thing. What advice would you give to them?
I'd say just go for it. I mean, there's new players. We've got new players starting each year. You know,
Yeah.
there's girls who've come and they haven't played hockey since high school, and you think, and they're nervous, but you know, we're a very welcome club, and you know, all the clubs across the island are
Yeah,
really welcoming,
definitely.
very social. You know, we've played hockey together for like 20 years, so yeah,
Yeah, at
we're
least.
quite but there's new players coming in all the time, and you know, with whole well-being and it being good for your health and mental health now, I think just give it a go.
So
If
many
you don't try
factors.
it, you don't find out, do you?
For you personally, what do you love most about hockey?
Yeah, there's a numerous things really, isn't it? Like, just be like you said when I mentioned about being in a team, like
Yeah.
seeing the girls' faces every week. It's nice to like, you know, that's well. Actually, to be fair, I was talking about this the other day, and I just sort of said, "Well, what do I do on a Saturday?" I actually don't know what to do with myself on a Saturday if I wasn't involved in hockey. I think I said it to Kim actually last weekend, didn't I? And
Yeah.
she sort of said we've been involved in hockey every Saturday since we were about 8 years old. Like it just seems weird not having hockey. Okay, in the summertime you've got the sun, hopefully,
Yeah.
and you keep yourself, or you're on holiday and you keep yourself busy that way. But during the winter months, it's kind of like, well, what else do we do? That's kind of just sort of like the norm, really, isn't it? And like you said, it's so family orientated. My daughter absolutely loves coming down to the side of the pitch. She loves cheering on all the girls. She knows all the players. Like she talks to all the other people supporting. You know, it's a lovely environment for her to be involved. She brings down a little scooter. Absolutely loves it. Like that's, you know, come rain or shine, she wants to be down there. And I think it's just sort of like, yeah, it's like not just family, but it's just so social. You come off feeling good, you know, obviously the endorphins from taking part in a sport, and you feel like, yeah, I've done my bit for Saturday. You can maybe have a little sneaky, you know, chocolate bar or takeaway on a Saturday night. You know, you're feeling good that you've done something.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a reward of playing with people that you know, isn't it? And
Yeah. And
Yeah.
striving to be like successful.
Yeah,
you know,
striving to be the best
the best you can.
you can. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the team, the family aspect, the pushing yourself.
Yeah, friendships
Yeah.
you make.
Friendships that you take for granted at times because
Yeah,
you
that's
see
true.
them every week and at every training session, every Monday at indoor, and you're like, well, actually, they're not just like your friends; they're practically family because you probably see them more than some of your family. I think you start to think of like how long we've all played together, and some of the others, like even between all three of like the ladies teams, like especially like we've got people that we've grown up with in all of those teams, and just to see like everyone enjoying it and coming off the pitch at the end of the day, win, lose or draw, like and being happy, that's like one of the best things because I know I've been coaching the C team, and I was down there with their first game because that was the first time we've had a C team in the last few years, and it was a completely brand new team, and to come off at the end and like look at them all looking at you, and you're just like, well done girls,
Yeah.
well done.
Such a good feeling.
Yeah.
Well, it must be good because I remember you two babysitting me when I was about 5, and I remember thinking they're such good hockey players at that age. So. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much.
No, thank
no,
you.
thank
Awesome.
you. Cheers.
Cheers.